If you weren't aware, and there's no good reason you would be, February 16th was the day without immigrants, where a bunch of immigrants, both legal and illegal, refrained from working or going to school to show how pissed off they are about, something. Trump, I guess. Yeah, apparently to show that the United States wouldn't work without immigrants? Like the Women's March, the apparent goal of this demonstration is rather unidentifiable. They state that the protest is to illustrate just how immigrants affect the US economy. No fucking shit. What kind of moron thinks immigrants don't affect the economy? I don't think you're paying attention here. America is a country founded on immigrants. That's true. For the last damn time. To all the virtue-signaling celebrities, no one is against legal immigration. I mean, maybe some people, sure, but most people are not against legal immigration. 99% of us have no problem with individuals who immigrate here legally. What we have a problem with, and one of the major reasons Trump is now your president, is with people who immigrate here illegally. Do you know why? Well, in part because of how they affect the economy by taking blue-collar jobs and by using public services such as school systems. The things you just left for a day to show how much you impact them. It's illegal aliens who are the problem, who we are concerned with, not the legal ones. The left has been conflating legal and illegal immigration for some time now, and it needs to stop.
Immigration.
No one cares about Canadians moving here and working as actors, you sycophant. Still, considering the reports of the actual effect of this protest, which have been limited to a few restaurants closing for the day and a few classrooms being a bit emptier, I would imagine plenty of actual illegal aliens either had the common sense or the actual need for money and their jobs to provide for them than to spend a workday day drinking. Let me make it abundantly clear just how stupid this idea is, since, as I've said, the only immigrants Trump is going to deport are the illegal ones, and out of those, probably only the criminals. As such, all these legal immigrants, and illegals I guess too, playing hooky is completely and totally pointless. And why would legal immigrants be down for this, by the way? They spent the time, the effort that it takes to become a United States citizen, and yet their lives are equally as affected by the negative outcomes of illegal immigration just as much as natural-born citizens. So why the hell would they support this? Oh, just virtue signaling, I guess. In contrast, illegal immigrants who participated in this demonstration just outed themselves as being fucking undocumented illegal immigrants. I mean, I absolutely cannot understand this whole apparent pride that there is in breaking the law when it comes to undocumented migrants. Why are you so proud of breaking the law? Why do you cry and scream when you get deported for breaking the law? Is there a single other crime that people are proud of? I mean, you know, besides career criminals and ghetto thugs. Who else goes on Twitter to boast about being a criminal? And I'm not talking about smoking weed, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I doubt we will ever see a day without child rapists, okay? Although considering how the left is now apparently trying to normalize pedophilia, although now the Milo thing, I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. And do you want to know the real rub of this? The industries that employ the most undocumented migrants, such as the restaurant business, construction, and other blue-collar service and factory industries, are full of a lot of business owners who are willing to turn a blind eye and hire these people with phony documents or simply no documentation at all. And as such, how do these migrants repay the American citizens who, be their reasons benevolent or purely economic, stuck out their necks to provide these illegals with employ? Just take the day off to show how spiteful they are to have even been given such a job in the first place. Again, I doubt many illegal immigrants took part in this. I'm sure some of these Twitter virtue signalers did, and that the rest was mostly just posturing from legal English-speaking citizens to show solidarity for criminals. But the fact remains, your boss gave you a job and chose to give you, apart from any others, a job. And in the case of these low-skill positions, I'm sorry, but low-skill, low-education positions, such as those in the service industry, are very, very easily replaceable. So choosing to blow off work to signal your appreciation for a crime that you either have committed or that you support, that you have to know on some level, if you have any functioning brain cells, is looked upon quite unfavorably by at least half of the country. Yeah, that's not a really good idea. That is part of their argument, though, at least in the restaurant industry, for example. that it would collapse without migrants. Sorry to inform you, but it takes literally no skill to wash dishes, and if Juan isn't going to do the job, I can sure as fuck find someone else who's equally qualified. Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. If every illegal working in the restaurant industry quit, that would be a major problem for about a day, until I go to the street and offer Matt the meth head the same deal to perform the same job because he's just as qualified. So yeah, guys, not a real smart move. So what was the response from business owners to this pointless virtue signaling? Well, many of them simply closed for a day. As I mentioned earlier, since restaurants often employ migrants, including illegals, because frankly speaking, the way restaurants operate in the United States is pretty shitty. Real quick, by the way, and I want to explicate this to those who are from outside the United States, but also just as a, primer for those of us who live here, servers at restaurants are allowed to be paid less than minimum wage because they can anticipate making frequently more than minimum wage through tipping. Honestly, I think this practice is absurd and sort of barbaric, and do not believe in the idea of tipping, particularly as it is culturally enforced in the United States as portraying someone as a scumbag or Scrooge McDuck for not tipping. Let's get real, sometimes service is shit. The other day, I went to the bar with my mom, who had come to visit, and we both ordered a delicious telemordu straight. The guy was kind of a prick though, and didn't respond to my mom trying to be friendly and talk to him, and yeah, I didn't think he deserved a tip. In contrast, of course, I will tip for great service, but this is going on a bit of a tangent. Just in short, I think tipping is a really stupid practice, and restaurant owners should probably just pay their employees minimum wage. Now, two caveats. I know there will be servers who would disagree with me on that because they have made a huge amount of profit because they worked at a restaurant where it was easy to make a lot of tips, or they're just a really friendly person, or they're just a really hardworking person, and I'm also into meritocracy, so I totally understand that. The other caveat in this totally unrelated rant, which I may make a whole video about, and which may be more important later, is that the restaurant business is a really risky one, and pulling a profit is very difficult, particularly at first. As such, I totally understand why owners and why workers would support this below minimum wage pay in order not only to stay in business, but potentially make higher earnings off of tips. Anyway, where the hell was I? Oh right, so some restaurants just preemptively closed down, knowing a bunch of employees would call off or to signal their virtue as well. Oh, and speaking of which, let's check this shit out. So this restaurant closed for a day and put a little message in the window explaining why. And by the way, they weren't the only ones to do this. I'm just bringing this up because it's hilarious. So what happened? Why, I'll be a racist neo-Nazi death squad of literal Hitlers came by and drew a swastika on the note. Of course, it's backwards. Look, Shlomo, when you go around trying to play the poor innocent victim by vandalizing your own stuff, maybe figure out how to draw a swastika first? Otherwise, it just makes us card-carrying racist, sexist, neo-Nazi death squad members laugh our asses off at your complete and utter incompetence. Honestly, I love this thought, and I hope they never ever stop with this any vague connection of two lines is a swastika bullshit. Like, Sarah, I can cosplay Hitler, but literally everyone I don't like is a Nazi Silverman, thinking construction paint is a hate symbol. How warped must your brain be to see this as a swastika? I mean, she's a Jew. If I thought a symbol was intrinsically associated with a bunch of my ancestors getting put in an oven and with intrinsic hatred towards me, I would probably know what that symbol looks like. That wasn't the only false flag. No, of course not. Karam Guerrero, a self-proclaimed immigration activist, made the claim that 6 workers at the Philadelphia branch of Bahama Breeze were fired, a claim which was expressly denied by the Bahama Breeze spokesman Rich Jeffers. See, that's the problem when you make claims. You usually need to back them up with proofs. In Bonita Springs, Florida, 6 teachers quit after they said 2 of them lost their jobs or were fired for participating in the protest. Basically what happened, 2 teachers accused the school of firing them and then pissed another 4 of their co-workers off enough so that all 6 of them quit. And by the way, the school has not confirmed that they were fired, so it's looking like they probably just claimed they were. Of course, if that's not correct in the future, call me out. But I'm sorry, what this sounds like to me is a clear attempt to get headline of school fires 6 teachers, school forced to close with lack of teachers, which is essentially the school was forced to close. But too bad for them, no one really picked it up. Anyway, again, as I said, for the most part, this thing had very little impact on the nation, either because actual illegals needed their jobs or are quick enough to know that ousting themselves as illegal is probably not a good idea. If I think someone might be an illegal and then they don't show up to work on the Illegal Immigrant Day, I might just call ICE, alright? Either that, or because no one cared or could fathom what the purpose of this was. So, let's get more into the details of what the effect was exactly. A middle school in Denver was forced to order Mickey D's for lunch because all of the lunch ladies called off. Oh, how did the poor children survive? I went to a public school once, and if there had been a day when instead of mystery meat surprise we got Happy Meals, I would have been ecstatic. Too bad the illegal immigrant kids weren't there using our free public education system and didn't get some of them tasty burgers. Speaking of McDonald's, as a quick aside though, apparently several of them closed down on the 16th, either willingly or from lack of employees, giving everyone a day of healthier life choices. And back, further speaking of schools, the most dramatic stories I've heard revolving this are all about schools, aka meaning not so much people ditching their jobs, but school kids playing hooky. For example, in Austin, Texas, an area full of illegal migrants, only 60% of their students showed up on the 16th. In a 65% Hispanic area of North Carolina, 263 students of a school with 662 students were absent at a Denver school called Escuela Tlatelolco. Yeah, I wonder who goes there. Only 40 of the 150 students showed up. By the way, considering the overcrowding in schools, I'm sure teachers were pretty pleased with all of this. Oh wait, yes they were. Here's evidence. In contrast, what were the repercussions beyond some restaurants preemptively shutting down? Well, this stupid museum covered all their works made by legal migrants up for a day, again conflating legal and illegal immigration. Some construction workers didn't come in, some shop owners didn't open up, and yeah, that's it. Again, I'm guessing most illegal immigrants didn't participate in this, be it for rational or for financial purposes. Although Ira Melman, a spokesman for the Washington, D.C.-based advocacy group FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, posits that it was most likely illegals involved. I don't think it was. I have absolutely no proof of this, but while I certainly believe the people bragging on Twitter about being undocumented took part in this, I also think the majority of people who even bothered to blow their jobs off and get drunk all day in protest were probably legal immigrants, just virtue signaling leftist mental invalids. Now on to the backlash and the backlash to the backlash. Remember how I said that if a business owner hires a person who is illegal regardless of his or her reason, be it financial or humanitarian, it could still come back to bite that business owner in the ass when ICE shows up? Yeah, the very act of hiring an immigrant who can't fill out a W-2 form is sort of gracious, I guess you could say. I mean, yes, it's no surprise that some of those people didn't react too favorably to a bunch of their workers taking a day-long siesta in protest of the very people who stuck their necks out in the act of employing them. Again, like I said, this could be a financial thing, and usually is, but it could also be a humanitarian thing. Encore Boat Builders in Lexington, South Carolina laid off 21 people who didn't show up, with owner Steve Deese commenting, "We run an assembly line, and when 21 people call out, that seriously affects our operation." Bradley Coatings in Nashville, Tennessee fired 18 people who no-call, no-showed after giving an official warning to employees encouraging them not to ditch. JVS masonry foreman Jim Sawarski, a Polish immigrant, fired 30 of his employees, stating, "If you're going to stand up for what you believe, you have to be willing to pay the price," and that he has gone above and beyond for these people. Yeah, I can imagine as a Polish immigrant, you would be a bit miffed by your employees essentially slapping your employee in the face. Na zdrowie, kolega. And finally, the story that got the media lit, an Oklahoma restaurant aptly named I Don't Care, canned 12 employees hilariously through a text message saying, "You and your family are fired, hope you enjoyed your day off, and you can enjoy many more, love you." Holy shit, Bill McNally, the guy who owns this place, is a goddamn madman. That is amazing! Also, this absolute madman almost immediately posted a call for employees to fill his now open positions. Jesus, what a god among mere mortals. Don't judge Bill too harshly, though, over this seemingly cold or callousness. He told CNN that he wouldn't have minded if anyone had bothered to warn him beforehand, and stated that the protesters he fired, quote, "just forgot about the 50 other people who work here. And if the cook doesn't show up, then servers don't have jobs and customers don't eat." So what was the predictable left's response to a business owner terminating a bunch of employees who chose to show their gratification towards him by ditching, effectively forcing his restaurant to close down for a day unwillingly? If you guessed with vitriol and outrage, you would be correct. By the way, as a quick aside, I find it very interesting that they chose to do this on a Thursday, considering by their own statements, illegal immigrants rule the restaurant industry. So Thursday, rather than a Friday or a Saturday, when restaurants are really booming with business, when servers are getting lots of tips. Anyway, let's take a look at how the left responded. Tim Wise, a dude who has dedicated his life and career to being a self-hating white man, sounded the call for the I Don't Care restaurant to be raided and attacked on social media and Yelp, encouraging people to leave fake reviews in protest. And leave fake reviews they did. Let's look at a few of them.
Oh, it was on a summer night, David's star was shining bright. He brought us a message of goodwill. Oh, in a film that did deface our entire race and was approved by the merchants on the hill. Now Tiny Tim Wise with his drivel and his lies, we are the sons of privilege, he said. That means hey there, goy, I am a merchant boy, and the white race is better off dead. Oh, when Shannon Christian died, Tim was hurting at his sides, a-giggling and laughing so hard. Now he wants the West to shatter, moaning that Black Lives Matter. But as for you, white man, not in my backyard. Oh, I have wandered o'er this land, a poor and broken man. Not many jobs, not enough to eat. But now the government foots the bill, sends me to their wars to kill, gets me shot, throws me underground 6 feet, yeah, that deep.
Whine, 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 cry, cry, cry. Oh, you fired hard-working people. If they no-call, no-show, they're not exactly the hardest working people, now are they? As I have said, dishwashers are pretty much the most replaceable people on the planet. Me and a fucking monkey could do your job. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but did you ever think about how that hurts Harambe's feelings when you shame him about his ability to rinse a plate? Look, if you have the financial stability and ability to call off no-call, no-show, then you're not really in dire straits, now are you? Of course there have been positive comments left as well, but the fact is that the reaction to an employer fire his employees for not doing their jobs is apparently now to attempt to drive that employer out of business. And that is emblematic of how sensationalist and absurd the left has become. Anyway, this whole demonstration or protest or whatever has been nothing short of a complete and pointless waste of time, much like the Women's March. In fact, most people don't even know it happened. The operative difference being, sadly, that I don't think anyone got fired over the Women's March. Maybe because none of them had jobs to be fired from. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, Altana Volt.